Hey church, how's it going? Hope you are well today. It's almost Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving. I want you to see this video really quickly. Sarah from our staff made this today. That's me decorating in the sanctuary for Christmas. I asked her to send it to me so I could show you today. We're decorating the sanctuary for Christmas. It's a little bit early. It's not Thanksgiving yet, but Christmas is more important to me than Thanksgiving anyway, so it's a good thing that we're doing that. But I want to show that to you today because while we were setting up for Christmas, decorating the church in different places, we couldn't help but mention the fact that the coronavirus is on the rise here in Western New York where we are, and there's a chance that we won't be able to do any in-person worship at Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, all through Advent. It's possible. Man, that's such a hard thing to think about. And so as we talked about it, we thought, is this really even worth it? Now, we only thought that really kind of briefly. We really wanted to do this thing, but we asked the question, is it worth doing this? And we wondered maybe we should do a little bit less, maybe save some time that way. But the thing is, it was a good thing for us to do. It was good for us as we got to do it, to set up as a staff here at St. John's, to have the place decorated for Christmas. It was a good thing for us to do that, but it was a good thing for us to know also that God's given us this job to do. He's given us this work to do, and even though it might not seem worth it, it's the job He's given us to do. In the event that we're going to be able to meet even in very small numbers, it'll be good to have these reminders of why we're here. It'll be good to have these reminders of the blessing that is the Christmas story, right? And so it's a good thing for us to do. And it reminds me of just the work that God has called us to do in general. You know, we set up these things around the church because that's our job. God has called us to do that. None of us really even doubted that. God gives each of us work to do. In the church, we call that vocation, things He's called us to do. Vocation comes from the Latin vocatio, or things we're called to do. And so God has called us in lots of different places. And as the church, the place that all starts for us is actually in the book of Genesis, in the making of Adam and Eve and in the giving of them work to do. Listen to this. This comes from the very first book, Genesis 1. So God created man in His own image. In the image of God, He created him. Male and female, He created them, and God blessed them. And God said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth and subdue it and have dominion over the fish of the sea and over the birds of the heavens and over every living thing that moves on the earth. Part of our vocation is to take care of the things that God has given us in this world, but also we know that it's just part of what God calls us to do, to work in this world. So that's what we did today. But then the thing is that God uses us in these vocations to do His work in the world. One of the reasons we had to set up for Christmas is that if there's any chance that anyone would be blessed by it, it would be a good thing to do it, right? And but even just doing the work is a good thing because God calls us to. Martin Luther said this great thing. I'll put it on the screen here for you. He said, even if I knew that tomorrow the world would go to pieces, I would still plant my apple tree. His point is that the act of planting an apple tree is just a good thing because it's the sort of work that God calls us to in giving us dominion over this earth, right? So even if I knew that the world would all end tomorrow, that this tree wouldn't grow, that it would die, that it would, whatever, I'd still plant it today. It's a good thing to do. As you go toward a holiday season that cannot look the way you'd want it to, almost certainly. As you move toward Thanksgiving this week, as you move toward planning through Advent and trying to worship as best we can together, to come together for the Lord's Supper, but also looking forward to a Christmas that probably just can't look the right way. As you do that, don't be tempted to think there's no value in the process. Don't be tempted to think that there's no value in the motions that we go through in worshiping God through this season, where He's given us different ways to look toward Him, but to also just to hope together. Don't be tempted to think that there's no point in putting that reminder ornament on the Christmas tree, or maybe there's no point in even getting a tree this year. If we're tempted to think those things, we could start to think that the promises of Jesus are on hold for a year, and I can assure you they're not. No, we have a blessed work we've been called to because of the great hope we have in Jesus, the blessed hope of the glorious appearing that He will be back. That's part of what Advent is all about. So I'm going to hold on to that hope. I'm going to do the jobs, even the ones I don't really want to do, or I wonder if it's even worth doing, because we know that if God's called us to it, it's a good thing to do. And we're going to do this together. That's part of how we do this together, church. Pray that you are well. I hope you have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I hope we see you during Advent, even at our limited in-person worship times. We'll be, of course, present in worship online as well. So we will see you soon. God's peace be with you.